So Indians are done with elections. That means it is the right time to talk about politics, especially political economy of India. Hello, I am Swapnil Karkare, economist and chartered accountant, presenting a small analysis and my opinions about coalition government. Yes, I am happy with these results. A BJP-led NDA government will be a better governed state than the previous one. I think a coalition government will be better for Indian economy. All the major decisions right from the 90s have been taken under the coalition government. The most important one being the liberalization, privatization, globalization in 1991 under Finance Minister Manmohan Singh and Prime Minister Narasimha Rao. Then we have a dream budget under P. Chidambaram, which was also in the coalition government around 98-99. Then came the Vajpayee government, which was again a coalition government where the thrust was on education, rural roads, and building national highways. That continued in the next term with the additional features like Aadhaar, RTI, Manrega, and many other initiatives. That was under Manmohan Singh government. So all these governments were coalition governments. Former RBI Governor Y.V. Reddy, in a speech in Washington, once said that the coalition governments are the best for Indian economy. See, every government adds their own flavor to the existing programs, or sometimes just change their names, right? You all know. But what is the main message from that? Consistency and incremental changes. That's what makes the country progressive. And that's what we have been doing. There's a famous dialogue or incident of Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and I have heard this on Seen and Unseen podcast of Amit Verma, where he was interviewing Montek Singh Ahluwalia, the former deputy chairman of Planning Commission of India. In Montek Singh Ahluwalia's book, there is an incident where someone approaches Prime Minister Vajpayee and asks, where is the continuity with the change you are constantly talking about? Because everyone was skeptical that BJP will change all the economic reforms that were started in the earlier regimes. So, but the BJP guaranteed that no, we will bring continuity to the reforms and there will be change, and so on and so forth. But how the Vajpayee responded was interesting. He pointed out towards Montek Singh Ahluwalia and said, see, Montek is the continuity and I am the change. So thus this response is profound because this highlights the essence, the overall essence of India's economic management, which is basically continuity with change, and there are some commonly agreed principles, commonly agreed targets which every government wants. This particular response is the essence of the coalition government as well. See how the coalition helps. In the last two terms, there have been many controversial issues. Let's focus only on economics and financial decisions. First, land acquisition bill. Second, farm laws. Third, labor laws. And fourth, demonetization. These are the main decisions, and the government kind of mismanaged the situation or had to roll back or went terribly wrong with these four decisions. The land acquisition bill was not passed. The farm laws, the government had to take it back. Labor code is in place, but it is not notified. That means it's practically useless. And fourth, demonetization, which is basically just happened overnight and dismantled everything. And apart from that, GST is a work in progress. Employment is an issue, and we have not done census yet. So that is again a major problem because we don't know what's happening in the economy basically. I sense that in a coalition government, there will be lesser controversial issues, controversial decisions, and more decisions will be taken which will actually impact people's lives directly. Maybe it could be like a rural sector, maybe it can be agriculture, maybe it can be jobs, and so on and so forth. And I guess even if the government wants to pass those some of the controversial laws, then also the time is right, because in a coalition government they will have to debate, they will have to discuss within the party, within the alliance, and with the opposition also. And that is a better thing, because it is much better than announcing something at 8 p.m. in the night and dismantling the life. Plus, it is better because people will not come to roads and start fighting with each other, right? We don't want that to happen. It's better that the fights and debates and quarrels happen within the parliament and not on the street. Therefore, I feel the government will listen to more people, more stakeholders for each and every law. This also means that there will be more discussion in the parliament. And we have seen in the last 10 years that there were many laws which got passed without any fruitful discussion in the parliament. So that will also change, which is again a better thing, right? There are chances that some laws will get referred to standing committee, and in the standing committee there will be representation from alliances and even the opposition. And that means each and every law will be more debated, more discussed in the parliament, and that's what we want, right? See, it's a democracy, it's time consuming. So there is a chance that some laws might get delayed. Any law which is passed after a detailed discussion can be suboptimal, cannot be as per someone's expectations, can be diluted. But something is better than nothing. See, right now, everyone knows that GST is not in a great shape. It's suboptimal, right? But it got passed because there was consensus. Congress wanted GST, BJP wanted the GST. There is disagreement within, like how should it be taxed, how much it should be taxed, and so on and so forth. But at least it got passed. Now we can make reforms, now we can make incremental changes, right? So we want reforms. It doesn't matter if the party has a majority or not. It is much better if there is a proper discussion. Again, had farm laws been passed earlier in a diluted form, probably, today we would have 50% of it, and we would be in a position to achieve 75% of our objectives, right? That is possible, and we have to give time to make things happen in a democracy like ours. Now, there's one thing that I wanted to discuss with you, which I recently discussed with one of my friends, and he told me something which was very interesting. And I thought that, okay, I should bring it somewhere in my podcast, somewhere in my writing, something, which is basically a lot of the times we fail to understand something in our daily lives, how accountability and checks and balances are important in any democracy. I'm not going to talk about the theory, but it is more practical aspect about it. See, in India, institutional checks and balances are not strong. They can be compromised easily, they can be manipulated easily by any particular party or any particular leader who is in power. Again, I'm not naming someone, I'm not targeting Modi or BJP. In India, everyone who has power has abused that power and will continue to abuse that power as long as we don't strengthen our institutions. And those institutions can be financial, regulatory, judicial, electoral, or even the parliamentary or executive bench of the government. So we know and we accept the fact that institutions are not that developed in India. Therefore, if for any reason, any person, any community, any group, media, journalist, activist, independent voices, artists, comics, YouTubers, influencers, Dalits, Adivasis, farmers, students, professionals, religious gurus, or even any particular industrialist or corporates, if for any reason they have something to say against the government, if they want to complain something about, if they want to be heard, or at least they want to feel like they are being heard, then what should they do? If the institutions are broken, if the institutions are manipulated or compromised, political parties become their agent. Because when there's no place to get heard, politicians and therefore ballot box becomes an important tool for voicing some things. And we have been doing this for a very long period of time now. Suddenly, no one feels that one party is better than the other. It is all about the trust or the lack of it, that finally we have to rely on the politicians and the political system in the country instead of the institutions. Thus, in India, politics and political parties are most of the times the only way to keep checks and balances on the government because the institutions are not developed. And sadly, that's how we have harnessed our democracy through politics, through political parties, and through electoral process rather than relying on institutions. It is sad, but it is the truth. But it's not like we have not done anything. We have made tremendous progress in the entire system in building these institutions and developing them. But Rome was not built in a day, right? So that is my perspective of looking at the coalition government. Now, let us have a look at what could happen in the next 5 years. Just have a look at the cabinet ministers of the new term. Mostly everything that matters at a macro level are seen, right? There are four things that the NDA or the BJP government has done right. Like there are many, but like I would like to focus on four, which will remain same in the third term, or even if had opposition come into power, that would have been in place. That's my thinking and that's my opinion. First is targeted welfareism. Direct benefit transfers or DBT has plugged most of the loopholes in the system, and that has benefited a lot of people. Many poor, many underprivileged people have got benefits of that, which is really great effort, and hats off to the government for implementing all those things. In that, we feel that there will be no change. It will be just incremental changes, fixing the system, and so on and so forth. Second is inflation is under control. I have made a video about UPA versus NDA. You can check that out. In that video, I have said that in the first term of the Modi government, they fixed inflation, but largely it was because of the international prices, international commodity prices softened, and therefore they were lucky enough to control the inflation. The second party is the RBI, where the monetary policy committee came into effect, and then after that inflation came under control. So both government and RBI continues to control inflation, and even after COVID, even after the supply shocks and everything, the inflation has not been rampant. There is food inflation, which we will probably cover in the next part about the economics, but overall the CPI index, which everyone looks, is at a very tolerable level. Now, what will happen in the next 5 years? I don't think there will be any change, because losing the battle in inflation will be very problematic, right? It will just tarnish the image of the BJP. So they will want inflation to come under control. So that's what they will continue to do, and RBI is obviously there to support the government. Third is the focus on capital expenditure or capex. We have seen a lot of development, a lot of investments in roadways and railways especially, and I expect that to continue, right? See, Bihar as well as Andhra Pradesh both needs infrastructure. Bihar is very backward in terms of infrastructural development, and Andhra Pradesh will require a lot of infrastructure, especially for the new capital, Amravati. So both will need infrastructure development. No one is going to oppose that. What can change is the proportion of funds allocated to capex. If 100 is allocated today, tomorrow only 90 might be allotted, but you won't see 50. That's my guess, because everyone needs infrastructure and everyone understands that private capex, which is basically capital investments by private sector, has not yet picked up. But if that picks up, then we might see some slowdown in government capex. That is again something which we will discuss in the later part. Fourth is fiscal discipline. Fiscal discipline means fiscal deficit being under control. Fiscal deficit is excess of expenditure over income of the government. I have made a video series of understanding budgets. You can check that out where I have explained fiscal deficit, or you can also watch the interim budget analysis made in February. That video is also available on YouTube. Now you can also see that finance minister has not changed. So fiscal deficit targets will remain, they will be abided. And I feel there is right now urgent need for the government to keep fiscal deficit low only. One, we are going to, that is, Indian government bonds are going to be under the global bond indices. So for that reason, we should maintain our fiscal deficits, otherwise bond yields go up if that does not happen. Secondly, the credit rating agencies are also keeping a close eye on India's fiscal deficit. If that increases, our rating might get hampered. So nobody wants that to happen. Had the opposition came to power, they would have also avoided increasing fiscal deficit by a very large percentage. There is a general understanding between the parties, between the alliance, that okay, fiscal deficit is something which needs to be under control. So maximum what can happen is the change in composition, that we might see a lot of subsidies probably and less of capital expenditure, and that is one kind of fear, that capex might come down and revenue expenditure like subsidies or salaries will increase. But I think the government might innovate in some ways to avoid getting into the fiscal deficit things altogether, and they might just announce some different kind of package or different kind of loan, or some kind of system where they will help those states also, but the fiscal deficit will not increase. Something or the other will probably happen in that area. So largely my opinion on Modi 3.0 is more of the same. See, again, people are afraid that more reforms will not come. See, I would like to highlight that in the last 10 years, Modi had absolute majority, and still with that, land laws, labor laws and farm laws, the party which was able to garner a lot of donations, a lot of electoral bonds, a lot of favorable media in their support, and a very weak opposition. Despite all of these things, the three laws were not passed. So I don't think majority matters in these aspects. Therefore, I believe that there are higher chances of implementing a slew of reforms because of proper discussions and proper debates in parliament. These are my thoughts. I didn't want to make a political video. I wanted to start with economics and end with the politics of coalition and economics of coalition. But because I have not uploaded any video for a long time, I wanted to upload it as soon as possible. And talking about economics and getting the data for the economics would have been time consuming. That's why I thought that okay, I should be able to do something. So I changed the sequence. I started with the politics, and hopefully by the next episode you will learn and understand and listen to my thoughts on the economics and state of economy of India as well. But I would request that not to jump on conclusions from this episode itself, because it's made in a bit of a haste. But this plus the next one will be a good combo, and please do mention certain things in the comments about what are your thoughts about the coalition government, what are your thoughts about the economy of India. And but yes, do not jump on to conclusions and do not write me off as well, because I wanted to have a proper discussion, and that's why I've made points which cater to both BJP and Congress audience probably, and that was the objective, that I have to give some sort of unbiased opinion and unbiased view of the things. Let me know what's your thought, and if you want more of such videos, then do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thank you. See you soon.